Hello, friends, and welcome to the Transparency Place. It's me, Life Coach Christian. As always, I have a friend that I brought along. This one happens to be my big sister. I brought my little sister. I brought my homies. Who did I have last week? Oh, my friend sister, my sister friend. And now I got my sister, my big sister. And the topic this week is insecurities, self-sabotage, self-sabotage. I said that wrong, right? And self-doubt. But I'm going to hand the mic over, let her introduce herself, and then we'll dive into the conversation. Who are you, lady?
Who am I? Well, I'm Kahleah J. I am your sister.
She is my sister by marriage, but she's my
Why
sister.
this is gonna
You
be
say
great.
what?
That's why this is gonna be great because
This is my sister, and when I go through things, I call her, and so we're gonna have a conversation like we're on the phone and we're freaking out, right?
mhm, we freak out a lot.
We freak out a lot. We're human. We freak out a lot.
Yes.
You are so funny. All right, first off, this background. You got all the professional work over there right now. The cameras, the lighting. You look dope, and I'm out here working in the basement. Is what it looked like.
No, let me tell you what happened was right. So, luckily, I have the production team with me. Okay. So we got we got Rod over here making it all happen. Now,
I'm like, so they just gonna make it look this good?
because I don't do nothing. The least I could do is have a pool. And if I'm going
You
to
do.
all of the insecurities and all of the self doubt and all of the self sabotage, the least I can do is have a pool to back it up. That's the least I can bring.
You do a lot. Chill on us.
Yeah, no, I do. I do in real life. I do a lot. I think it's. I mean, we'll get into it.
We'll get into it. Okay, so tell me about your week. How's it going?
My week actually has been really, really good. Um, just this afternoon, we just got back from San Diego where we surprised Rod for his birthday. So Tiff set up a trip when we all went out to San Diego for the weekend. And when I tell you, shout out to our homeboy Guy. What's his name? Guy Guerrero Ferrari. What's his name? The man that be going to the places to eating all of the food.
Oh, the I know what you're talking about. He took you out to all the restaurants.
Listen, okay, when I tell you I ate
I thought
a
you was faster.
I was not fasting. I was not fasting this weekend. This
I thought
weekend,
you
as a
was.
matter of fact, what I did in preparation of the topics for your podcast is I self sabotaged my fasting and my diet.
You are
I
something
have the
else.
French toast that was this thick.
And you decided you was gonna go to work because who cares about our goals, right?
Goes on me nothing when the French toast during brunch comes out.
And this is my sister. The goals don't mean nothing when the French toast come out. I don't know what to do with you. Well, let me tell you what I did because I'm excited. Today, this is why my hair, if you're watching us on video right now, looks like this. I went to Inception. It
Uh-huh.
was a great experience. Like, oh, mind blowing. I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mhm.
Um, I went on, what was it? The inner circuit. So they were working on my inner mentals, which was really awesome. I went into a room. It was a magnosphere room, and the lady told us, she was like, this is supposed to take your body from fight and flight to rest
Mm.
and relax, rest and relaxation. I can't get my words out. And it did just that. It did just that. I was really amazed. I'm goofy. We all know I'm goofy. So I'm
Yeah.
up like me and my cousin in there. I'm trying to peek up over her shoulder like I want to play, I want to throw stuff at her, I want to laugh, but she never looked at me so I couldn't play. So
So
eventually my body,
as a silly person, did you find it hard to relax?
what I found hard was I found it hard to sit still. And at one point, I loved stillness. So that was really interesting for me. I was like, we had to sit there for an hour. The chairs were comfortable. It was amazing. I had a hard time sitting still, though. And I thought that was really interesting. That was some awareness for me, because once upon a time that's all I wanted to do. Like, I craved being in a place by myself and being alone and just sitting still. No, I was ready to get up. I wanted to text, I wanted to play. I'm not used to sitting down anymore because my life is now like this. And the reason I went there is because my life was like this. But
So
there were three different. Say that again.
you went to make it all stop.
I wanted my life to slow down. I couldn't think straight. I had so much going on that I couldn't think straight. Like, it was bad. I was producing, but I was producing just by going. I didn't like that vibe that I had going myself. Like, I texted, like, confession, I'm not living my best life right now. And that's what I text my cousin. Like, I'm not living my best life right now. And she's like, what you mean? I'm like, bro, I can't think straight. You would
So why,
think, like, life is great.
no,
Go ahead.
your life no. So, but why do you feel like you're not living your best life? Is it? Do you feel like you're lacking the calm and the peace that you were trying to connect to when you went to Inception?
I feel like you are life coaching me, but hold on, I'm gonna answer your question. No, why did I feel like I wasn't living my best life? It was just a moment. I had that moment where I felt like I wasn't living my best life because I couldn't think straight. I'm a calm person. I'm typically centered. I just couldn't think straight. So that bothered me where I had everything ordered and organized, I couldn't figure it out. And that was bothering me.
Let me tell you something. I think I first heard about Inception maybe like 6 months ago, and ever since then, as much as I love visiting everybody when I come to Detroit, I have been waiting to get back to Detroit because I cannot wait to go to Inception. I've been hearing amazing things about it. I am very much so conscious and aware of my mental health, so I feel like Inception would be the place that I would need to live. Like
See,
it might be the one thing to get me to move back.
and now wait, I'm very conscious and aware of me and how I feel and things like that. I don't feel like it brought any awareness to me because I went through the brain test, right? But when you take the brain test, they don't give you how your body really reacted to that brain test. You just experience it and you kind of pick up by listening to the music how your body responds.
Wait, they do a
Um,
brain test?
So they put you sit in this chair, you put headphones on, you have stuff strapped to your head, like little, yeah, and you're listening to music, and they're seeing how your brain responds to different situations. But it's through music. It's really interesting, but you don't get to see that report. And I was like really intrigued. Like, can I see that report? I need to know. But
So
they don't
it
give me that report.
that's the part that kind of makes me a little bit nervous then, and that's kind of the reason why I was a little anxious about coming on your podcast because I'm like it's something about allowing like letting your guard down and allowing somebody to actually get inside of your head, and they actually got all up in your head, and you don't
She,
even know what they took out.
I don't feel like they took anything. So if they took something, well, I had a great experience, right?
Well, I mean, maybe not physically or maybe not mentally, but I mean, they might got a little bit of your intellectual property.
I will admit, at one point, I was like, are they hypnotizing me? Because you just keep hearing this ding in your ear. I'm like, are they trying to take me out? So I kept opening my eyes, like, and it's lights in the sky, so I'm watching the lights.
Paranoia is real.
Okay, so let's dive into insecurity. Let me tell you why Inception goes with this. Inception, the last circuit we did, or the last piece of the circuit we did, was floating. I took my hair down this week just because I'm like, I'm going to give myself a free week before I let anybody do anything in my hair, right? They put us in this, or they took you in this room. You have your own bathtub, you have your own shower. Matter of fact, the towel rack is even heated, baby. But it's called flotation therapy. And so even when she's explaining it to me, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna get my hair wet. I'm about to sit in this big bath. No, once you got in there, you kind of like had no choice but to lay your head back. I spent 30 minutes with my hair just in the water, just laying there. Like, it was excellent. But then I realized as I was laying there, as an African American woman, I had never floated freely, like let my hair down and just floated. And it was because I didn't want my hair to get messed up. Because I didn't want to get on camera and look like this. I didn't want to have to go to the next place and look like this, or I didn't want to have to manage it after that. And to me, that's a form of insecurity. What you think?
I think it's definitely a form of insecurity because what's so the thought process is like when you come out your hair is gonna be jacked up, right? Is that why
That's
you?
exactly. Oh, I know it's gonna be jacked up.
But the weird, okay, so the weird thing about it is though, right? I don't know if we should go all the way here. So
Let's
the real
go.
thing is, I think a lot of times as Black people, we think that we, especially Black women, we tell ourselves that, oh, the reason why I can't swim is because of my hair, or the reason why I can't swim is because I'm scared of water. Um, when we got our pool built, it is the deepest part of the pool is literally my height, and Ken set it up that way because I am the only person in the house who cannot swim. All of the
I
kids,
can't either.
including the babies, know how to swim. And you know your sis can't swim. So I always tell people it's because I have dense bones. Um, but the first step to learning how to swim is learning how to float. And just like you, I've never floated before. I don't know how to float. But I don't. But my whole thing is I'm not worried about my hair in the pool. And when Ken first said it, Ken first was like, "Oh, you don't want to get your hair messed up," and I was like, "I do my own hair, so I mean, I can fix it if I messed it up, and it's in our backyard." So I don't think that. Now I have a laundry list of insecurities. That is an insecurity if you're worried about getting in the pool and like getting your hair wet because you don't want to come out looking different. And maybe that's the bigger thing. Maybe it's the contrast. Maybe it's the idea that you go into the pool looking one way and then you come out looking a completely different way.
That's exactly what happened. So, have you ever seen Napoli Ever After?
No, no. What is
Oh,
that?
it's a movie on Netflix.
What's the movie?
It's a
Okay.
movie. Yeah, it's a movie on Netflix, and that's what happened. Like her mom used to take her to the pool to these pool parties, but because her hair was pressed, she never allowed her to jump into the pool. So one day, she a kid, she got mad, she jumped in the pool, and when she got out the pool, everybody laughed at her. Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah. But that's an insecurity that a lot of us we probably even overlook. Like today, I have to say I felt so free just laying there, but I realized I had never done it because I had always been concerned about how my hair was going to look after this. Or I let's say if we do get in the pool and we do float, I have braids in so that I don't have to deal with it.
yep.
But look, right now this is a lot of big hair, and right now I'm dumbing it down with some curl stuff to keep it down.
I can see that. I have insecurities surrounding my hair. I just don't have insecurities surrounding like I'm not worried about my hair getting wet. Like we were talking, we were pre gaming before we started doing the podcast, and I was even telling you I've been wearing my natural hair for so long that this weekend when I straightened my hair, it just felt weak. I was like, it felt like I need some bundles or something. Like I just felt it feel real low key,
It's
and I'm
light compared to the natural hair.
yes. So I'm over here struggling. I'm trying to get reacclimated to the straightened hair.
That hair is the hair in our community is just something different. That could be a whole topic on itself. But I realized today that was like even when I walked out and looked at myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh, that's why you don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
But
you look
kind of
rough.
to your point about the TV series though, like I don't feel like most Black people don't want to get in the pool because they can't swim or because they worried about their hair. I think similar to the scenario you were talking about on the show where or on the movie where the little girl gets in the pool and then everyone's laughing at her. I think it literally probably comes from like decades of trauma from us one either not learning how to swim and not having access to stuff like that. And then when we finally did get access to stuff like that, like if we talking like in real life, like white people used to drain the pools because a Black person put their toe in it, or like we weren't allowed to. So
Hmm.
who's supposed to teach us how to? Most of the stuff you learn from your family and your friends. And if you literally come from a whole line of ancestors that didn't learn how to swim because they didn't have access to a pool, let alone swim lessons, then how was we supposed to learn?
I get it. I get it.
It's a,
Yeah.
swimming is a
So
privilege
okay.
that we don't acknowledge.
You said swimming is a privilege that we don't acknowledge. Wow. So okay, you talked about insecurities coming from trauma. Do you think a lot of our insecurities come from trauma that we experience in life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think oftentimes, I think for most people, when you think about something that you're insecure about, it's based on a negative experience that you've had surrounding that said thing with someone else. Uh, I'm a lot different in the way that a lot of my insecurities come from up here.
Okay, keep going. Talk about them. So is it
Like,
the overthinking?
it's definitely the overthinking. It's a lot of the self-awareness. I'm extremely self-aware. I walk away from every single situation thinking, how could I have handled that differently? How could I have said that better? How, it's just I literally tear down like every aspect of everything. So when I think about my insecurities, it's generally not stuff that other people have said about me or, criticisms that I receive from other people. It's generally about stuff that I've said to myself about myself. I'm pretty
So
hard on
that's,
myself.
I think that I have the same battle. Like, it just, let me say, you create these own thoughts. Sometimes we're our own problem.
Hmm.
Like, you could have an argument in your head before you even walked into the argument, right? So is that self-sabotaging piece, would you think?
Oh, yes.
Because
Oh,
we've
yes.
created this issue that doesn't even exist.
Yes. Yes.
Mm. Okay, okay.
It's
So
all
how
there.
do we? It's all there. Tell me, what do you when you say it's all there? What are you saying?
Because, like, even, have you ever been in a situation where you walk into a scenario and you feel like it's just something not quite right about whatever it is. Maybe it's your hair that you don't like, maybe it's whatever outfit you chose to wear. It's just something that is not making you feel comfortable and something that you're insecure about in that particular moment. And even if you walk into, and I'm not saying everyone's like this, this is my personal insecurity struggle, is that
Mm-hmm.
even if I walk into a room full of people and they all say that whatever that thing is, say it's my shoes, right? Say I really don't like these shoes. uh whatever the thing is. If a ton of people are saying, "Oh my goodness, girl, those some bad shoes you got on," it's still not going to change the way that
How
I
I
feel
feel about them.
about the shoes, and I'm still gonna feel like I have an issue with it. Same
But
way.
that doesn't sound like an insecurity. It sounds like that's your opinion. You're confident. You know what works for you.
So I was using that as an example because
All
I was
right.
hoping that you really wasn't gonna make me get all the way transparent. Okay.
This is the transparency place, and a lot of my guests afterwards, I realize they come back and say, "I should have said this. I should have said that," and I'm like, "Say it." So,
Okay. So I'm
the
guilty.
door's
You ready
open.
for it? Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
ready.
So I'm okay. When I think about things that I'm insecure about things that I truly care a lot about. I am insecure that probably the one thing that I am most insecure about is my parenting skills. I feel like no one knows how to do this crap. No one can tell you how to do it because even the people who you think are doing it right, it's all tailor made because we're all raising completely separate individuals. So there can never be a handbook of how to do it right. But people will tell me, "Oh, I think you're an amazing mom," or "I think you're super dope," or even me, I go so far as to ask my children. I have asked every last one of my children on several occasions, if there was one thing you could change about me to make me a better mom, what would it be? And in real life, I actually asked this question today. None of them have ever given me an answer. They all always tell me, "No, I think you're amazing. No, I think you're great." But even in them telling me that they think I'm a great mom, and even with other people, my husband always telling me he thinks I'm an amazing mom, it still doesn't change the fact that I'm super insecure about the way that I parent my children. Like, I worry, like, am I doing this right? Was this right? Was this the right decision? And it doesn't matter how amazing other people think I am at it, even my own children, it still doesn't change it. But I don't think that's a bad thing either. And me and you have talked about the fact that I don't think it is bad to be insecure. I don't think insecurities necessarily is a bad thing. I think people feel like it's a negative thing. I don't agree though.
I completely agree. And it's so funny that you even brought up the parenting piece because I was shocked when I told somebody this week what the topic was and they said the same thing. Um, I completely agree. And I think when you say that I don't think insecurity is a bad thing, do you feel like your security makes you go a little bit harder? Like it's the fuel to your fire? It keeps you going, it keeps you trying to be better.
Yep, it
I,
does.
I yeah,
It's
I
the
agree
driving
with that.
force.
Oh,
It's literally my insecurities are literally the driving force behind me wanting to be better every day.
because we don't want to drop the ball, especially in that parenting area.
No, no,
Hey, that was good. That was real good.
can you believe you?
Oh, salute to you. That was good. That was real good.
I need
Okay,
a
so
weighted
let's talk
blanket.
about. You say what?
I need a weighted blanket. This is getting too real.
No, that's what it's about. You said a good point though because I never Well, even with, I guess, our conversation, I don't remember that conversation, to be honest with you, but I'm here and I remember it now that you saying, being insecure can be a fuel to your fire, because now I can see that. And honestly, coming into this conversation, I was thinking about how insecurity holds people back so much. Like, some people need to overcome certain things to be their true and authentic self. And I'm all about that. I want you to show up for who you are. Don't mask that. But when you put it in that perspective, and then, like me even just saying to you, it doesn't sound like you're insecure. It just sounds like that wasn't really the shoe that made you happy. Even though it's hot, it's not what's comfortable for you,
I was using the shoe as a cover up. I
For
was
your
just
parenting. Okay. All right. I
for my
follow.
parenting, and even other things like I mean, I just think in general there are so many things that we look at about ourselves and we try to think like, okay, how can I be better at this thing?
Yeah.
But that's why I don't think insecurity, and we didn't have the conversation about insecurity being being the driving force. We had the conversation about how I am a firm believer that I don't think that being insecure about any given thing means that it's bad. Like, some people take it as an insult. Like, if you mention, like, if you say something, say for example, you say, oh, I don't want my husband going to a strip club, and then someone may
Okay.
say like, oh, okay, well, that's because you're insecure. Well, I mean, maybe that is because you're insecure. Maybe you are insecure in some aspect of your relationship that makes you feel like you don't trust your husband in this environment. That is self-awareness, though, that gets you to that point. That doesn't mean that your relationship is horrible. It doesn't mean that you're an insecure person overall. It just means that there may be a small component of this particular scenario that you're insecure about. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
But in that sense, I don't see why that's insecure. Why can't I be comfortable with this decision making, Like, that doesn't, that just doesn't work for me. My husband going to the strip club just doesn't work for me. And that's between him and I. So why are we okay? Where does insecurity come at in that, I guess?
Well, I'm saying that if someone says to you, like, if their perception is that you feel that way because you are insecure, I'm saying that that shouldn't ever be an insult. I don't understand why we take that as an insult.
Okay.
Why does that mean? Why does that mean something bad? Why does that have to be an insult to me for you to say that you think I'm insecure?
Okay. So do you think there are some insecurities that we can grow out of, or that we should grow out of?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're constantly growing, and I think that the more that you grow, the more that you do become comfortable in those certain situations. But I think it also depends on how long you've been insecure about it. I think if it's something that is a new insecurity, say maybe you start a new business venture or something, right? And you're just not comfortable and feeling like, I've never done this before. This is brand new to me. Am I going to fail at it? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this wasn't meant for me. Maybe this is a business that's meant for someone else. If this is something that's new to you, I think that you can put the work into it. You can put the self-reflection into it, and then you can grow from there. However, on the flip side, I think if it's something that you've been insecure about your whole life, I think oftentimes those people struggle getting past it. Like, say one of your insecurities is your body, right? And say you
Okay.
struggle with your body image your entire life. You will hear people who are smaller that once were big, and to them, they still feel big.
I agree. I'm listening. Go ahead, coach. Because you coaching. You teaching me tonight.
So
I don't even know what to say.
like, even when you reach the goal, like, even when you reach what you think you were seeking, if
Mm-hmm.
it's so deep embedded in your soul, you can't even see it.
Mm.
So I think it depends
Mm.
on I think it depends on how deep rooted your connection with that insecurity is.
So it depends on that individual, the
Mhm.
connection,
Yep.
and what they're willing to do to overcome it.
Yep.
So that's something to write down, y'all. I gotta write it down, figure it out,
Don't take
and
notes.
then is
She do not be knowing what she be talking about.
what?
I said, don't take notes from me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No. That was good for real. Because, like, I'm over here like, I need to go put that in the book. No,
I
because
think
it's
I know
also,
because these are things that I genuinely struggle with. So you
so
better.
okay. So I guess with our conversation, it's kind of making me think: is insecurity society driven, or is this individually driven?
I think it can be both. I think it depends on the individual. I think sometimes people allow the opinions of others to determine how they think and feel about themselves. To be perfectly honest with you, I used to think that that means that you're weak. Uh,
Okay.
I no longer necessarily feel that way, only because I feel like a lot of, if you value, like, say for instance, it's the opinion of your husband or your children. If the opinion is coming from somebody who you truly value, then I don't think that it's weak of you to take on that as your own opinion or as your own insecurity. Most of mine, I would say 90% of the things I'm insecure about all come from inside of my head and don't have anything to do with anything that anyone else has ever said to me. But there are people who will grow up hearing, maybe you got a big forehead, right? So you grow up your whole life hearing, oh, you got a 5 head, oh, your forehead is big, this, that, and the third. And maybe it would have never been anything that you thought about or considered, but because everyone
Until they
has said
brought
it
it to you.
your whole life, now you want to fix it, or now you want to change it, or maybe you don't wear ponytails and maybe you feel like you need a bang now. So I think it depends on the person. I do think if you should, I feel like you should never allow the opinions of people who you don't care about to impact how you feel about yourself, because you're supposed to be the person who you care about the most.
Preach, preacher, for God shall wipe away. Yes, you are
How you
supposed to
gonna
be the person
how
who
you gonna
cares
spend?
about you the most.
Mm-mm,
Let
mm-mm,
somebody else lead your life. That doesn't work, right?
no.
So do you have any thoughts or tools on how to help individuals overcome those insecurities? And what before you answer that question, I just want to put the definition of insecurity out there for people who don't know, because you might overlook the idea. At one point I did. Insecurity is defined as uncertainty or anxiety about oneself, lack of confidence. So lack of confidence in a certain area of your life. So what tools or resources or thoughts do you have on how to help someone overcome their personal insecurities, or how to become content and allow them to move them forward?
That was actually one of the things I was gonna say is embracing it. So I think there's one or two things that you can do if you have things that you are insecure about. You can change it, or you can embrace it. Like, those are really your only two options. You can either change the things you're insecure about, or you can simply embrace it.
And embracing it requires you to change the way you're thinking about it.
Yes,
So change
absolutely.
your thought process about whatever that is that's knocking on your door. I didn't think that I had insecurities. That was just
No.
my personal experience. Um, and then the anxious feeling, the anxiety piece. I didn't think I had anxiety. And then I got into this relationship and I started questioning what I had on. I'm like, why am I questioning my outfit? Like, I'm comfortable. This is what I like to wear. But it was like a comment that was made that made me feel like I had to show up another way.
Mm.
So then I had to take that insecurity and I had to shift it and I had to go back to who I am and being true to myself and still showing up as myself. Like, what you say doesn't matter. I had to really write that thought off. But I did want to show up a little ignorant to show you this is really who I am. So I had to put a little touch to it, but it was still me showing up as my confident self. And overall, me continuing to be my authentic and my confident self has paid off. Now people are flipping over, realizing that they were masked and made up and hurt and wanted me to look like them. They showing up as who everybody else wanted them to be, but
Yep.
weren't showing up as themselves. So that was my experience, my shift. Like I didn't have insecurities until that one person made that comment that made me shift a little bit. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know who I am. So I had to really get that. I had to deal with it though. It was a real battle. Like, why am I sitting here questioning myself because they said something?
Yep.
And, and that was a problem for me. It made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't like it. Again, it was something I had to think through, walk through. Like, okay, well, how do I approach this? I shifted and tried to show up how they wanted me to show up, but it was like that ain't me. It wasn't. It was uncomfortable. I couldn't be that person. I had to go sit in the corner and talk to Christian and come back and be Christian. So let's talk about this self-sabotage. Me and you are both guilty. Let's be honest.
Yes,
We are very
very.
guilty. Very guilty. So when you hear that word, what do you think of?
Which incident we talking about? I have a list of things that I mean, just a real quick one. I mean, I definitely self sabotaged my diet this weekend in San Diego, especially when I smashed that French toast. Um, I think you set goals for yourself, and then anything that you do. to stand in the way of you being able to attain that goal is self-sabotage.
That's
Anything
exactly what it is.
anything that you do, even if it's as small as you running late, like that's a form of self-sabotage.
I feel like you attacking me with that one.
I'm late all the time. What are you talking about?
I
I'll
feel
go
like you
ahead.
attacking me with that
I'll
one.
go ahead. I'm gonna throw myself on the sword. Uh, and I do know I said sword. We had a whole conversation today about words that have silent letters in it, and I'm making a conscious effort to debunk the silent letters and words. I'm gonna work on trying to say salmon too. I'm gonna work on that one instead of saying salmon. But so about, and I think I may have told you about this before, but I'm not exactly sure. But about
Okay.
2 years ago, I was approached by a company, and they offered me a job that accompanied a life changing salary. And when I say life changing, I don't think I'm gonna throw the actual number out there, but I will say we're talking mid six figures. I'm not talking low six. I'm talking mid level six figures, right? But it was a VP position, and immediately, and when I tell you immediately, I am telling you the second that this opportunity presented itself, I legitimately started telling myself, they don't even know me. Like, why would they offer me this job? They don't know me. They don't know what I'm capable of. I was telling myself things like, I've never held a VP title before. Like, why would they assume that I am capable of doing this job that they've one never seen me do, one something that I've never done before. Um, and I legit talked myself out of it. So ultimately, I ended up turning down the job. At one point, I even convinced myself that they were using me. I'm like, oh, they're just trying to use me.
Wow.
They want to get this information from me. And then once they had that information from me, I kept convincing myself at one point that the job wasn't even real. I'm like, maybe they're just trying to dangle this carrot in front of my face because of this information that they want to get from me. I had completely talked myself out of it. So about 2 months later, we were in a meeting at my current job. We were in a meeting with this other company, and they introduced us to this person as the new VP of it was the exact job title. So at that moment, I'm like, crap, this was a real job. This was not something that they made up. This was not some kind of trick or scam. And I'm like, I turned down this job, convincing myself that ultimately, if I'm being completely transparent, I convinced myself that I wasn't good enough for the job and that it's no way that they could really want me.
Mm, that's deep. So now looking back, how do you feel?
In real life, and I know people like to say this all the time, like, oh, I don't regret anything. Oh, I don't have any regrets. I do have some regrets when it comes to my life. That's not one of them. I don't regret that. I do live a very comfortable lifestyle. Like I'm not in need for anything. And money has never been the driving force behind anything that I do anyway. Like
Okay.
money has never been. I've never been a materialistic person. I've just never been driven by the idea of money. So I don't regret turning down the job. One of the other components to me turning down the job was also the fact that it would require a lot of travel. So I would have had to move from Arizona to Florida. I would have had to travel 3 to 4 weeks out of the month, and I just felt like I'm not comfortable with not being a part of my family's life. Like I'm here every day for them. I work a very flexible job right now where I come and go as I please. And I would not have had that same flexibility. And that to me is more important than the financial aspects.
That's dope. Okay. That's dope. So let's go. You went from deep to dope. Now we have to go back though to those thoughts. What do you think triggered those thoughts for you?
I think not seeing it. I think I didn't think I was worthy of it because I didn't see it. I don't know anyone close to me that works in that kind of field. I don't know anyone close to me that makes that kind of money. So I think to me it was like when you're offered an opportunity to do something that you've never seen, that you don't even know is attainable. Like how are you supposed to know that you can touch it if you've never seen it reached before?
Wow. So it wasn't reflective of how you felt about yourself. It was totally about the exposure that you had in your life.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
Because I even told my boss about it after the fact. He was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, do you know what you do? Do you know who you work for? He's like, all of this stuff carries weight. He's like, you, like, he was telling me, like, I can't believe that you would think that they didn't want you for any other reason besides the fact that you are who you are. And that was the first time that I realized that even when you don't give yourself the same credit, your name oftentimes is in rooms that you could never imagine. Like, your name is usually in the room way before your body enters it.
Wow. So now, if that type of position presented itself and it still allowed you to be with your family, do you think you would still have those type of thoughts?
No. I definitely learned a valuable lesson from that. I would not have, I don't regret taking that job. And if they offered the job to me again, I still would not take it. But one of the things that it did is it planted a seed, which allowed me to start consulting. So now it's like, instead of taking the experience and the knowledge that I have and just full fledged giving it to anyone, now I have this power so I can do consulting. So I can control how much of my intellectual property I want to share, and I can control who I want to share it with and under which terms I want to share it with them on, and it's no real commitment. So it helped me, but I wouldn't do it any differently. Even if they called me tomorrow and said they wanted me, I still wouldn't take it.
So it boosted your self confidence in a sense.
Yes. Oh,
That
heck yeah.
situation.
Oh, yes.
It
As far as
allowed you.
work,
It showed you who you really were.
let me say something. For the rest of my working life, I am putting that on my resume, okay? And I'm putting it on what do they call those things that people do at work? Your self evaluation form. I'm putting it on all of that. Like, I'm sorry, have we met? Do you know who I am?
So now I need to know how you shifted from these self-sabotaging thoughts to now this is working for your good. This is working for your advantage. What happened there? How did you get from these self-sabotaging thoughts to this is working for me? This is a
I had
confidence
to learn to
builder for
sit
me.
with it.
You had to what?
I had to learn to sit with it. My mind works so fast to the point where like, I've always been like pretty witty, and my mind works so quick that oftentimes that was working against me. So my very
Mm,
first reaction to something was to be to tear myself down, or to doubt what truly was what it is. And now I've learned to sit with it. Like, I don't have you don't there's very few occasions where you have to make a decision like right now.
mm-hmm.
Like, you should be able to allow yourself the time to go sit with it, write down the pros and cons, like, truly weigh it out. The crazy part about how my mind works is when it comes to myself and the way that I feel, I'm not logical. But in the real world, I'm a very logical thinking person. So, like, people close to me, like, I'm sure you've heard me say plenty of times, I'll say something and I will say, I know this don't make sense. I will start off the conversation with, I know this don't make sense. Because I'm a very rational, logical thinking person, but it doesn't change. I haven't been able to separate the logic and the ration from the emotion.
Mm.
That's why I have to allow myself to sit with it, because sitting with it allows me to break that down, and then it allows me to say, okay, this makes sense. Okay, Kahleah, that don't make no sense, girl.
You said you haven't been able to separate the logic and the what was the other part from the
The
emotion?
rationale from the
Oh, the
emotion.
logic and the rationale from the emotion. So
Mhm.
now, do you know that if you were able to do that, there's a takeoff there. There's an elevation piece there. A
Ooh,
lot
yes.
of what we
Tell me
do
into it.
um, is driven by emotion. A lot of the way we act and react to situations is emotion. A lot of us don't, like you said, sitting there. We don't sit in stuff.
Yep.
Typically, when someone says something to you, like a typical person, let me say that a typical person, when something is said to them, they react out of emotion. Sometimes they didn't hear what that person said. Um, they just heard enough to respond. They
Yep.
weren't really listening. So what you just said right there was just something to, again, note for people. Being able to separate your rationale and your logic from your emotions. When we're doing business, we're doing business. It has nothing to do with your emotions. So how I'm writing you in this email, this is business, you know? It has nothing, I'm personally not interested in what's going on X, Y, and Z, you know?
Hmm.
there are certain circumstances where I can put it all together. But if business is business, that's what we're doing right now. But a lot of us take our emotions into business, right?
Yep, every day.
I just thought that was that the fact that you're even aware that you have those two over there and you got your emotions on top of them, they coming in there to the party with you.
That's why I know I'm not the kind of person. I can't make a decision like at the drop of a dime. I can't do it. I can't. I can't do it.
So what's your process of sitting with it?
I write it down. I gotta write it down. I have to weigh it out. I have to tell myself what is the good that I see in this. Okay, what is the bad that I see in this? And then I have to wait for one. So I have to wait because the emotions are still so raw when something first happens or when you first approach with something. The emotions are still so raw that you can't see it with a clear lens. So I usually have to jot it down and then I have to take a beat. And usually my beat is about 48 hours.
That's realistic. I need those 48 hours. I can't talk to you about how I'm really feeling until I really process because I might hurt your feelings if I come off on rip.
Yes. But then after that, I can go back to it because I can go and I literally look at the list and then I have to start marking stuff off. Like, girl, this is feeling. This is all feeling. This is not reality. I have to tell myself that. I have to tell myself a lot of times, like, this is not real.
These are
Because,
not the facts of the situation. These are how this is how you feel about the situation. That's good. These are not the facts. This is how I feel about it. And sometimes you can't move off that feeling. Because if we moved off that feeling, let's be honest, we'd be divorced.
yep, exactly. You did it. You are. Because it's
Like if I reacted, I wouldn't be a married woman if I reacted off feeling.
no. No, because feelings feel real to you in that moment, but feelings are only real to the person who's feeling them because you can't make somebody else feel what you feel. So from there, at that point, once you feel something and you trying to explain that, you have to be able to successfully get the other person to feel how you feel in order for them to understand the feeling because you can't explain it because it's not a real thing, and that's how you know feelings are only real to the person who's actually going through them.
That's a whole nother conversation right there. That was I needed that. Preach, preacher.
They gonna
You
have to
got
put
me. I'm usually in my best behavior on here, and you making the other side. Come on, let me get it together. Okay, all right,
They're gonna have to
all
put the
right.
feeling down into the water down to the inception.
What the
They're gonna have
feeling down?
to in the water down to
They
the
got to
inception.
put the.
They're gonna have to put the feeling in the
Even after I left there, the feelings didn't even matter no more. I wasn't even feeling any type of way anymore. But okay, back to
I
the
can't wait
focus
to go.
at hand.
Can't wait to go. I can't wait to be able to float. I want to be able to float.
The flow is good. We can flow through life. Okay, so we hit on those insecurities. We hit on the self sabotage, and then I guess the self sabotage and the self doubt kind of play together in this conversation. But let's talk about not believing in yourself because you said like, why did they? Why me? Like, I can't do this job. Why do you feel like you didn't believe in yourself to obtain that job?
I think it had to come within. Like I think kind of back to my insecurities. Like I think as many people, everybody can tell you that you can do it, and unless you believe you can do it, then it doesn't matter. It's not gonna ever matter. I'm also, and I don't know if we should have led with this, but I'm also a Libra, which makes me extremely indecisive.
I'm a Cancer and I'm the same way. I think we're human and we go through these emotions, but a lot of people don't recognize their emotions or don't know how to deal with the emotions. So
Yeah.
that's why we have the transparency place so we can have the conversation and people can walk away with the notes on how to deal with their emotions and be real about their emotions. It's nothing wrong with how you're feeling. You're human. You're going to go through this. And there are other people that go through it, and this is how we get through it. This is how we overcome it. And at the end of the day, it has made us better people.
Yep.
So now, back to the question at hand. Let's talk about it, Libra. What do you feel like made you feel like you couldn't do the job?
I had never done it before. I had never done it before, so I didn't even have anything to like. gauge it with, which is why I was saying it's so important that you go and you sit with it. Because I think if I the approach that I wish that I would have taken was actually trying to see, okay, what all does this entail, exactly what does this job look like, because maybe it looks like what I already do, or maybe it looks like something that's easier than what I just didn't. I was just too busy talking myself out of it to even have thought about all of the logic behind it, like even trying to see if it made sense.
So to even answer the right questions.
I couldn't even ask the right questions.
Exactly. So you had this concocted in your head already that you couldn't even put yourself in a conversation to advocate for yourself.
Yep. It also doesn't help that one of the other things that I often deal with when it comes to self doubt, especially when it comes to like my work, is that I work in tech. So I've always been, most of the time, the only woman, all of the time, the only black person. So it's like, not only is this something that would seem like it's not attainable for me, it's like, I don't even know, like, who, are you serious? Like this person? And that's the scary part, is when somebody else can see something in you that you can't see in yourself. Like, that's when you really have to start digging deep. Like,
Okay.
people should never be able to see it before you see it.
Because it's you, it's your vision, it's your life, right?
Yes.
It's your character. And that's what I'm really, as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking about. But what about your character? What about you disqualifies you? What, what triggered that thought?
I don't think I ever thought about it as my character. I don't think I ever thought like I don't think I thought about it character based,
Okay.
because I mean I mean, as much as I'm insecure about some things, my character is quite dope. Um
So again, why didn't we think we could do this job? But character is who you are. Your character is who you are. It's what you're bringing to the job. It's what you bring into everyday life. So why are we writing ourselves off if we already know we're dope?
Well, I think that, okay, because I think it also, so even though character is who you are and it's what you bring, it takes a minute for people to get to that part. Like, it takes a minute for people to actually get to know exactly who you are in order to even know that that's something that's valuable that you bring to the table. Most people only see what's on paper, especially when you're talking about business. Like, they see what is black and white, what is on paper. Like, most people don't care about how nice you are, how loyal you are, how kind you are. Most people don't care about stuff like that. But if you really want to talk about the self doubt, you want to talk about my recent self doubt?
What's your recent self doubt? I'm scared, y'all. Yeah, I know who you talking to sometime. I'm listening.
So I recently called you and was completely freaking out because I was having a hard time coping with thoughts and
Oh,
ideas
okay. Here we go. Let
that
me get my water.
yes, I was having a really hard time coping with thoughts and ideas surrounding religion and how I was raised, and kind of realizing as an adult how many of those things I disagree with and I don't connect to. And I was scared. Like, when I called you, I was legitimately scared because I was like worried. And you were even telling me, like, listen to how you feel. Like, there's nothing wrong with how you feel. But my concern was, I know this is how I feel, and I know I don't connect to these things, and I know I don't agree with all of these ideologies and everything that goes into it. But I was raised in a way that makes me scared to doubt my religion. Like, scared where I'm like, I think I even asked you, like, am I going to hell?
Lord, forgive us for this conversation. I'm sorry.
We don't have to go into details about the conversation, but there was a lot of self doubt because I was so scared that I was not comfortable with listening to myself.
So I think, and there it goes. You were scared to listen to yourself. But
Yes,
even you said in the beginning, though, you're overthinking and your thoughts are like overdrive. You have these self sabotaging, self doubt thoughts. So at what point do we turn the knob to confident
I think we have to do it when it feels right.
and trusting our own self, right? Do you trust yourself?
I do. I do. I
Okay.
definitely trust myself.
Okay, so if you trust yourself and you've made decisions that are right for yourself, what puts you in a position now where you're questioning, you get what I'm saying? What you have or what you value for yourself.
Because I think, okay, so at the end of the day, when I'm laying down in bed with my thoughts, I completely trust myself. But that is easy to do when it's all internal. I think the hard part comes in place when you have to start actually putting it into action, right? So it's easy to say, like, oh, I can do this. I can do whatever. I can do anything, Black girl magic, all of these things, right? We tell ourselves that it's easy for us to say it. And then when it becomes reality, that's when the self-doubt comes in. So it's like it's an instinct, I guess. Like where it's like, how do you block out the negativity? But I think it is there to help us properly process it. I don't think
I agree.
these are all bad things. Like I think the self sabotage is a bad thing. But I think things like self doubt and insecurity, I think those are all there to help us better process the decisions that we are making. I don't think there's anything wrong with them being there because ultimately, if you're gonna act off an instinct and do what people think you're gonna do, you may make the wrong decision. You may not do what's right for you because you're thinking. I think the normal person, like just to go back to the job thing, right? I think if the normal person would have been like, "What? How could you not?" Most people would be like, "How could you not accept something like this?" And ultimately, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So something in my body told me it wasn't for me. It's just the part of being able to block out what genuinely makes this not for me, and then what part of this is just me tearing myself down.
I like that. The fact that you're able to differentiate the two. So sit there again, being realistic, writing down the feelings versus the facts.
Yep.
What's really happening around me? Say that again.
You have to process it. Like we shouldn't
Oh.
handle it. We shouldn't handle our emotions and decisions that we make of ourselves any different than we would handle anything else. It's kind of like making sure you got a grocery list right before you go to the grocery store, because everybody know if you don't have a grocery list, when you get in there, you're gonna buy everything you see.
That's not true. Okay, I
Especially
lied.
if you
It's
go in
true.
there while you're hungry. Don't go there hungry and without a list. You don't have a list and you hungry, girl. You gonna buy everything.
Oh, this is true. And I'm just sitting here. You said something about self-doubt, and honestly, I wrote a blog. What is it? 5 years ago. 5 years ago, and I always knew that I wanted to write a book. Um, but I'm like, how? Why? Why am I going to write a book? What am I going to write a book about? Things like that, right? So that self-doubt, and I kept pushing it off. But something, I think it was a mindset that triggered me, like, this is the time now. That I couldn't do it 5 years ago, but experience and seasons that I went through, even though, like you said, the seed was planted a while ago for me to write this book. But
Yep.
now we are 6 years later in life, I've experienced some things, and now the book is in the works, right?
Hmm.
The books is in the works. But I doubted myself. Like I questioned every bit of it. I even questioned when the freaking publishing company came into my life, because when I first got the idea, I'm writing a book. I'm like, how? I don't know who. Ain't nobody who wrote a book. Ain't nobody tell me X, Y, and Z. I went to my brother, like, maybe we should do an electronic copy. He gave me X, Y, and Z. I still didn't do it, but then it ended up being this woman. We connected. We're cool. Things are happening, right? I'm like, you put her right here for a reason. And now I have the outline, the process, somebody to actually walk me through this process, and things are happening. But 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I'm like, I ain't ready for people to know my life in that light, or even so much what I really wanted to write about. I wanted to write about being your confident self. I couldn't write about that yet. I haven't got there yet. Maybe eventually. But I still holding on to the promise or the seed that you're going to write a book. You have something
Yep.
to share with the world.
Yep.
But still at the same time, I'm like, why? What I gotta write? What I'm writing this for? So the self-doubt, the questioning, but also still understanding with that self-doubt is preparation. Even though you're questioning, it's also preparing you for what is to come in the process. Um, and I think even with me self-doubting, I went looking for the answers to the questions that I was asking myself. So seeing the good, seeing the good in the insecurities, the self-doubt, and overcoming self-sabotage. So it can work for your good when but I think, like you said, you gave a great tool, a great resource, writing down the facts versus the feelings when it comes to self-sabotage and dealing with the reality of what you're going through. I think that's going to help the people that listen to us tonight. What you think?
I hope so. I hope
I
so.
hope
But
so too.
even to you with your self doubt when it comes to the book, like I mean, in real life, like you're constantly growing. Like I tell you all the time, like I am so proud of you. I am so proud to be your sister. I think that everything that you do is absolutely amazing. But you are even better today than you were 5 years ago. So in real life, your book is gonna be doper now than it would have been 5 years ago because you're just getting better and better.
Look at all these feels. She trying to get me together. She trying to make me all emotional and stuff. She all dope and stuff, y'all. That's my baby.
I tell you, I'm so proud of you. Even your podcast, I was like nervous to come on your podcast because I'm like, well, this is serious business down to the transparency plate.
Yeah, Selena called me. What did she call me? She just got all the serious questions. She want to counsel you. Well, it's all love you all. Kahleah, let them know where they can follow you or find you or connect because you dropped some gems tonight, so they looking for you. They want to know.
Well, they're not gonna find the gems down to the social media because I am just newly becoming comfortable speaking. So I'm Kahleah J everywhere. So I'm Kahleah J on Instagram. I'm Kahleah J on Facebook. I'm Kahleah J everywhere, but you're not gonna find any posts there because I don't post. Now, what you will find is on a less serious note, down to the transparency place. This is where it goes down. Okay, this is where it gets really real. But if you want some foolery in your life, down to the Sisters Talking Ish podcast is where you can find me kicking less knowledge and being more ridiculous.
She kicks knowledge on there too.
No, we do. We have a good time. But Sisters Talking Ish podcast, we usually go live either on Wednesdays or on Saturdays. We've been doing a lot of traveling lately, so we're trying to work our schedule out. But we've been dropping every week. We get ready to drop our 7th podcast this week. So we're on a roll. So you can always find me there.
They're on their 7th podcast, the commitment level. Salute.
Because we ditched hiking, we ditched bike riding. Let me tell you something.
Okay, you're not gonna put my sisters on blast on my podcast right now, okay? Say F over there.
These sisters, we have been committed to your brothers for longer than we can. It's clear that we got commitment issues. Okay.
I should bring y'all all on next week. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about people with 10+ years of marriage with commitment issues.
Let's pour to the marriages, right? All right. Well, it has been real, you all. I hope that you all have gotten some great notes. My sister has dropped them on. This is our phone conversation. This is how we talk and what we talk. And sometimes it can go a little bit up or down. But she was very transparent tonight. So thank you for getting naked with us. Because that's kind of like when we get naked in this space. That's what we do around here.
I felt a little exposed and I didn't know what it was. But now that I know I'm nude, it all makes sense.
That I want people to come into the space and just, be yourself, dance free, But if you haven't already, download the Real Ish Radio app. Follow us, like us on Facebook, Instagram. Check out all of the podcasts that we have going on. I think we have 5 or 6 shows. You want to kick it with Blaine J. You want to talk with, wait a minute, Sisters Talking Ish, because they be talking mad ish, but they are hilarious, right? And then we have Cigars with Friends. Let's talk about it. It's a lot of shows happening on the Real Ish Radio Network. So you want to make sure you download that app. Catch us live. We're constantly going live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on the app. If you're on the app, you can get a reminder. You can stay connected with us. I'm Life Coach Christian. You can follow me on Facebook as Life Coach Christian, or you can follow me on Instagram at Simply Chris, 2 I's in the Simply, no Y, Kris. And I will talk to you all next week again. Thank you, Kahleah, and have a good one, you all. Be great this week.
Hi, guys. I'm Kahleah.
I'm Salita.
And we want to welcome you to our new podcast called Sisters Talking Ish on the Real Ish Radio Network.
So download the app at realishradioapp.com. And you can also watch us on Facebook and YouTube and listen to the audio on all streaming platforms. Hope you guys check us out soon.